Right now, we are going to move into the first talk of the day, which is maximizing reach. And we have lovely guests here, Gene Farris on the far right, DJ Heather, Tim Zawada, and Mr. Mazi moderating it. So I'll let you guys get started. Let's welcome everybody.
What's up, y'all?
Thank you very much.
Yep. Hello.
Yep.
All right, awesome. I guess I should speak first since I'm the moderator. If you're in the back, come on, join us. We're getting started, everybody. Come on and join us. The room feels really good. All right, bring your butts over here. All right, my name is Mazi. I'm very excited to have this talk with these illustrious folks over here. Like Andrew said, the title of this talk is Maximizing Reach. And the bylines, I'll just read, exploring the benefits of technology platforms to expand your audience and enhance engagement. We're talking about marketing, basically, as an independent artist. I could introduce these folks again, but I think it'd be better if they introduce themselves. So if y'all could, just take a turn, your name, and tell us a little bit about yourselves. I'm sure these folks know who you are, but let's just pretend like they don't. So if you could introduce yourselves, let's start over there at the end, please.
My name is Gene Farris. I'm from Chicago. Run a label called Ferris Wheel. And I'm here to answer some of my good friend Mazi's questions today.
He also might have made a few incredible tracks, played a few sets around this planet Earth, you know, and done some incredible things in this thing we call house music. Just had to add a little bit of flavor on there.
Thank you.
Hey, what's up? My name is Heather. DJ, occasional producer, vocalist kind of thing. Run a couple of labels in the past. Now known, Black Cherry and Apollo. Now known for the brand H is for Hustle, which is always, not always, but all-encompassing for everything. Independent music maker since DJ since 1990, but it's also been in parallel to working for distribution companies, record labels, record stores, washing windows, bartending, all those things eventually led me to this space here, and I play music here and abroad and online and everywhere. So that's me.
She's one of the best female DJs on the planet. She's just underplaying it right now.
Come on now. Appreciate
it. Yes, thank you. Could you introduce yourself, please?
Hey, I'm Tim Zawada, the non-legendary person on the couch right now. I started off as a DJ and a promoter kind of in like the mid to late 2000s here in Chicago. I started a record label called Star Creature that is kind of on the peripheral of house music. We do some house music, but also a lot of like disco and funk and electronic synth-based sort of dance music. I'm also the managing director at another label that has really almost nothing to do with house music called the Numero Group, focusing on a lot of like archival releases, things from the past, everything from like country, funk, soul, new age, gospel, etc. So I have a lot of marketing experience more on the label side than like DJing of recent, but happy to be here and thanks for having me.
So I added some spice for Gene. I got to add some spice here too. My favorite DJ, Heather's my favorite DJ, and Tim is a legend. If you all know Star Creature, if you know Numero Group, come on. Those labels are incredible. They put out some incredible music. You've done some great work. You put in the work, sir. Thank you. Yes.
And season yourself, Mazi, if you aren't familiar.
For real.
For real.
I'm currently working in the software field.
The catalog is deep.
Done a little music myself as well. You could Google it. But all right, the reason these folks are up here is because it's hard to make a mark, right? I mean, we heard in the last talk, Matt was talking about how it's harder to do remixes, how it's hard to break through. And especially nowadays, when it comes to marketing yourself as an independent label, as an independent artist, it's harder and harder to do. But these three folks that you see in front of you, are successful at doing that. So we need to pick their brains and understand how they do it. So I've got some questions here. I'll start with my questions, but this thing can go organically. My first question is just, how has the landscape, the marketing landscape when it comes to music, art, and artists evolved since you began doing what you do? So I don't know who wants to start, but who wants to take that question first?
Wow. Well, that's a hilarious question, first of all, without giving away my age. I mean, first of all, there's internet. I mean, that wasn't around when I first started, that's first of all. I mean, I've been around since before MySpace, bro, so I don't know, like, I think.
So, Gene, sorry to interrupt, but I think what might be really useful for these folks is to kind of like, what does that mean, right? Like when there wasn't internet, what were you doing? And now what are you doing? Like that would be, I think, really impactful.
Well, back in the day, everything was more organic, right? You know, things were on such a smaller scale. So, you know, just getting your fan base in your local setting was a feat. I mean, that was amazing in itself if you had a local fan base, right? You know, I guess what I kind of did was push the same attitude I had when I was doing my local promotion, getting all you guys here locally to know who I was, except I just pushed it on a bigger scale globally. I used everything that the internet had available to me to reach people. You know, there's no reason to be ashamed of it. I mean, or else you all probably wouldn't even know who I am or be talking about me in a has-been kind of sense. I think you should. I think you should use every avenue that you have to promote yourself if you are an artist trying to promote yourself. Now, if you're just on there, you know, hanging out with your family and stuff online and you just like music, then maybe promoting yourself is not for you. But I would imagine if that's what you were about, you wouldn't be in this room right now. So if you're an artist, then by all means, you should use every avenue that you have that's free. I mean, most of this shit's free. It's just about putting in time. So I would recommend using every avenue that you have.
Well, to your point, Gene, about starting before MySpace, or like BM or whatever, before MySpace, in terms of promoting yourself, it was a combination of, I guess, word of mouth, when you talk about the local aspect of it, kind of establishing yourself here, and then from there it grows. So it's kind of like a baby. With the more you feed it, the bigger it gets. Absolutely. But I think when you have the perspective of doing a lot of this stuff pre-internet, predating it, you kind of evolve and move with said times. And with that evolution, you figure out what works for you in terms of diversifying your part of it is revenue stream, hence streaming, etc. So I think that if you are really dedicated, you figure out ways to make things work for you as they pertain to you, and what feels natural, organic, you can kind of shift. And I think that big shift was kind of presented for a lot of people without any sort of just the surprise, dare I say, of COVID. I think that made everyone had to readjust and reset and figure out what they could do to kind of maintain. I think there was a moment where a lot of people were stunned, and what they were doing was just trying to say, wanting to connect and popping up online, and everyone was streaming in that time. And then things kind of died down and people figured out what worked for them. As it pertains to myself, that's the same way I feel that if I'm into it, if I want to grow, if I want to express myself, share what I do, and vice versa, because I feel it's very much a community, that I address those changes and move with it, but at the same time feeling very honest with myself and how I'm presenting myself in that capacity.
Tim?
So I think I was like a freshman in college when Facebook launched. So next month I'll be celebrating my 20th anniversary on Facebook. So I kind of like got started when the tech thing was already happening. At first it was like really awesome. Like, I don't know if anybody's been invited to like a Facebook event recently, but that was like a great thing for a while. I think the challenge now that artists face is like you can't just be a good artist. You do have to, be a creative marketer, and you have to be active and keeping up with so many trends and algorithms. And I think it kind of can distract a little bit from making art when you have to think about presenting it on some of these platforms. Kind of one thing that Heather said that was cool was finding what works for you. And I always tell artists, I'm like, you don't need to be active on every single platform. You need to find the one that you can connect your audience with, and you can generate the content for, and kind of cultivate a community. And I think that's probably the biggest change over these past 10 years or so. The kind of commercialization of these platforms that were designed to connect us, where now you might have 5,000 or 10,000 followers or something, and you post something that you think is great, that you put a lot of your heart and soul into, and maybe 20 people see it, maybe 3 people like it, and then it's just gone forever. So I think it's a challenging time. A lot more sophistication is required, but you can also connect with a lot of people. You don't have to be necessarily in person or at the record store or going to a club and limited with that finite group present in the surrounding area. You can reach people all over the world potentially, and connect with people and collaborate and things like that. So pros and cons of the current landscape, I think.
All right, y'all, thanks for that. I think you've already kind of started to hint a little bit at my next question, which is, if we could, can you get specific with me and with everyone here about how some of these shifts have influenced how you approach creating and promoting your music, your content, your brand? So some specifics.
As it pertains to me, the shift has really been about being more focused, because you kind of have a core of an audience, but you also want to expand it. Again, it's that delicate balance of being able to be honest and true to what you do and what feels normal and, dare I say, organic. So I think that just the continuation of that theme, where I feel I do things that feel right and genuine, and people respond to that honesty time and time again. And there's things that I might try that don't really quote unquote hit, but again, it's really something that I don't really think about every day. It's just something that happens. Again, to your point about finding platforms that work for you, because you don't have to spread your web, pun intended, for everything. It's just kind of figuring out what works for you, and what can be construed as being, again, something that connects you. And it could be with certain people. So it could be a certain demographic. If you've been playing for X amount of years, you definitely have people who've grown with you, but you also have people who want to join you on that journey, and then you also keep reintroducing yourself to different age groups or different markets or whatever. But again, I really don't think of it in those terms, but in order to explain them, I have to kind of be more specific. So with that being said, it's kind of like the honesty component, I think, is still really prevalent, and people respond to that all the time.
Can you repeat the question?
Sure. So
I knew what it was.
No, absolutely. I just wanted to get into some kind of specifics about how these shifts that we talked about in the first question have influenced your approach in creating and promoting content, brand, and music.
Sure. I think yes, you have to create different types of content and things like that. But as I'm guessing most folks here are like DJs or some sort of music promoter. I think one thing that folks kind of lose track of when they're trying to go viral or do some jump on some latest meme trend or something is kind of the core of them being an artist is, yes, they're an artist, but they're also providing value. And that's what's cool about being DJs. It's yeah, you're an artist, but you're also out there providing value, getting people to dance, showing people new music, putting people on stuff. And I think if you kind of remember your own value proposition as an artist or a DJ or whatever when you're and frame your approach to content with that. Like, cool, I'm on Instagram or I'm on TikTok, I'm a DJ. Like, how can I connect with folks still and show them new music or put them on to something? How can I deliver value as a DJ through these, different tech platforms? And I think like that's something that we didn't really think about. You just thought about being a DJ, like just having sick records, getting up there, partying, whatever. And now I think there's just a little bit more like kind of thought and intention behind what you're doing on your phone.
Right on. Gene, I would love to hear, if you have something to add here, I'd love to hear your perspective because you make a lot of music. So how do you think all these changes have changed your approach to creating?
I just sitting here listening to everybody's, answer. And, the thing is, I look at it as a job on a daily basis, right? On a normal job, you work 6 to 8 hours a day, right? So most people, artists, our hardest transition is to how to go from an artist to go to a promoter, to promote yourself, pretty much. That's what you're doing. 6 to 8 hours a day, most people say, okay, well, I'm going to go in the studio and work for 6 to 8 hours a day. No. Your job isn't just to make music anymore, unfortunately, as an artist. So you have to figure out a way to map out your 8 hours a day. I do that every single day. I try to go in the studio at least 4 to 5 hours a day. That's plenty to get a lot of shit done. But the other, 3 to 4 hours a day, I'm promoting myself. I'm promoting Farris Wheel. I'm promoting my shows. I'm completely talking to my marketing team on about the next things that are going on. I'm making release schedules for my company, merchandise, all kinds of stuff. So there's a lot that comes with being successful at a higher level. And not to mention, I got a team of people doing the same shit, if not more than what I'm doing, plus my 8 hours a day on myself. So you have to understand that, yeah, cool. If you make nice tracks, awesome. You are the best DJ since, if Carl Cox and God had a baby, you'd be that person, awesome. But how if nobody knows about that, or if you don't have what's the word I want to use without sounding insulting, but you don't have really the charisma to let people know that you do these things or about that life like that, then it doesn't matter. You have to figure out a way to let as many people know that you're the shit and that you got dope music, or you're the dope DJ, or you got the dopest label, or whatever you do that you believe in yourself, whatever your niche is. I think that's what Heather and those guys were trying to say. Once you find your niche in yourself as an artist, or your label, or your clothing line, or whatever the hell you do in life, that's what you run with. So lean into it. Some people are afraid to lean in what they're fucking good at, and I do not understand what that is. It makes no sense to me. If you're a hot model, be a hot model the shit out of it. If you're a dope DJ and you like really dope and your friends know you dope and then just be a dope DJ. You don't have to like juggle 900 things. Just do one thing really, really well. Bruce Lee said some shit like that, right? Like, I'm scared of the dude with practices one kick instead of dude who knows 10,000 kicks, right? That's some true ass shit. Like, if you master one fucking thing really well, lean into that. Figure out a way to spend your other 4 hours in the day promoting yourself, and then go back to the thing that you're good at for 4 hours a day. But home in on ways to let other people know that you got these things. It's the best advice I can give.
Right, but that's part of the diversification. So if you don't want to go big like a Gene Farris and you're trying to do it like little DJ Heather, you still do it in a different capacity.
Absolutely.
I can't afford a team. Shout out to you. I am my team. There is the I in team. That's me. So everything that's hustle is me. Everything that you see is me. Yeah. So because that way, with my experience of having management, of having all the other stuff, I kind of downsized, and that worked for me in this new capacity, because I've been able to, dare I say, shapeshift a little bit, still be here, but still be, again, that common thread of consistency.
Relevant. Still relevant.
Still relevant, feeling relevant and not feeling out of place,
Yeah.
feeling just as comfortable in this space or doing a bigger festival or playing some cuts at a smaller bar. They're all the same to me because I am leaning into what I love to do. So with that being said, that's where people feel that they connect to you because they know what you're doing is honest. This is what you
It's
love.
genuine, for sure. Absolutely. I fully agree with that, without a doubt.
So I love that conversation y'all had because you're talking about different approaches. You're talking about different ways of doing the thing. And again, that leads beautifully into my next question. It's almost like we rehearsed this, which we didn't, which is beautiful. What strategies are y'all using to increase the visibility of your work? So if you could talk a little bit, maybe this time we'll start with Tim, but what strategies are you using, Tim, to increase the visibility maybe of the labels that you are working currently?
I would say I steal a lot of ideas, mostly from like scrolling and trying to reframe things that I see happening that are either going viral or working well as a nice piece of content. And I say like, how can I do what they did, but talk about this record or talk about this artist? I think like what sucks is that to be kind of good on a lot of the platforms, you have to be like a user and you have to be kind of participatory and kind of know what's going on out there. But yeah, I just put on that lens and I'm just scrolling and it could be just the most random thing. But if I think like, oh, I could use this same format to talk about this 7-inch that's coming out, I just jack it, you know.
I mean, I think, what we ask for on Farris Will for our labels, from each one of our artists when they put music out, is to get us some type of content. What is content? Content is a video of you making the song. A video of somebody playing the song. It can be small, it can be big. I think the most important thing is trying to create content, viable content of yourself and whatever it is, again, that you're trying to achieve. It can be a video, like I said, of you making the song, somebody playing the song out, a video of you DJing in front of, we all, when we were doing COVID, we were all just DJing in front of ourselves any fucking way, so nobody's not going to know the difference. It's just about your charisma coming through on the camera. So I think, trying new ways of creating viable content on a consistent basis. Consistency is the key to this whole conversation. You look at some of the other artists, I'm not calling out any names or making it sound like a bad thing, but some of the content is pretty stupid to all of us, right? But they do it enough to the point that it sticks, right? And now we're sitting here talking about them. So it's just one of those things. Whatever you do, just be consistent with it.
All right.
Ditto.
All right, moving on. So it feels like we've been talking a lot about social media, right? So we've been talking about social media. Are there other technologies you're using? I want to keep kind of drilling down if it's okay, because hopefully this will be educational for all these folks and they can start using some of these things. Are you using AI? Are you using automation? Are there any kind of specific tools you could speak to us about that you're using, platforms that you're on, that kind of stuff? Let's get into some of that.
I mean, for production, I've been using Logic for, 25 years, so I haven't really changed for that. I've been using it since it was an eMagic key. AI, 100, I don't even know what the fuck that means. What the fuck does that even mean? What are we talking about here? You talking about the automation in the way I write the music, or am I asking the computer to make a tech house track? What? I have no idea what the fuck that even means. It's like the sync button. I cannot even understand what the fuck that is. So I don't know. No, I do not use AI. I just make tracks.
Yeah, same. I just kind of do my thing. I don't know. Again, I think it's just that feeling of doing what feels right, organic, all those, catchphrases that people lean into when you talk about marketing, even though you talk about being organic and putting it under the umbrella of honesty in marketing, but that's really what it is. And leading into platforms, what has worked for me is kind of building stuff that is, again, using platforms that are free, the Instagrams and Facebooks, but also creating a space that is my own. So you can go to my website, and that it's an aggregate, so it leads you to everything else that you could see. But again, it's having a sense of ownership and not necessarily relying on platforms that I have no investment in. So that seems to have helped me a little bit, makes me feel a little bit more artistry and artsy and official, because I have a place that is my own and not relying on platforms that I can't really control, even though the internet is, again, a free market space.
I use Alexa every day, though.
That counts.
That is a great technology.
I think I feel cool being on a panel where everybody's kind of dissing AI. That's not the trend right now. I get videos like all day just being like, use AI to generate these 30 content ideas, whatever. And I'm not gonna lie, I've checked it out, and it's kind of garbage. It's really basic stuff, and it's whatever. So I don't know. Maybe that will work if you're light on the creative juices for a day or two. I use AI in some of the most boring ways possible. Today I had to redesign a flyer, and somebody sent me the dates, and all the months were fully capped, and all the venues were all lowercase. So I asked ChatGPT to format it nicely, and I didn't have to type out 30 days or whatever.
Yes, I do use AI.
Yeah. But not for the creative stuff. For the creative, the AI is lame and boring or whatever. But I'm checking it out because maybe one day it'll be better. But I think for administrative tasks, things like that, I've used ChatGPT to be write me a 4-page or 4-paragraph press release for an album, and then I'll describe the album, whatever. And I mean, they'll spit back something. It's garbage, but I can go through and kind of change it up or whatever. Again, if it's 1 a.m. and I'm fried or whatever, So last resort, I'll use it here and there for stuff like that. But I think the praise out there is probably a lot higher than what I would give it for. As far as automation, again, super boring stuff to the creative section of folks here. But if you are a label manager or maybe even an artist manager and you have lots of things going on, I've been using this tool called Airtable for the last 4 years or something. That's been really awesome, and I build a lot of cool automations in there, little alerts. You can set tons of different calendar things, based on dates, tell me this, whatever. It's a great place to store metadata and track a lot of releases and stuff like that too. So I don't know if anybody's ever checked that out, but it's super dope, and I run 2 labels on it. So
First of all, I'd like to thank you, Tim, for not making me have to out myself on using AI and saying ChatGPT, because if you weren't going to say that, I'd have to say I use ChatGPT all the time to help me write the press releases for my label. But yeah, the kind of the stuff I was getting at was that, the technology that you might be using. So for example, we're talking about social media. I don't know if you all use this, but I use a tool called Loomly that lets you schedule posts.
Yeah,
so I wonder if you all
absolutely.
use something like that, or you just naturally post, or So when I was talking about automation, tools like that as well. Is there specific ones that you use that you could name that folks might go looking for?
on social media, I don't use any of the schedulers right now because I'm like a social media conspiracy theorist, and I mean I talk very closely to a lot of other folks that are heavily ingrained in the social world and social marketing, and just probably in the last couple months we've been talking a lot about when I schedule a post, I don't think it gets as much engagement if I just launch it naturally at the same time. Or if I'm using the Meta Business Manager, I'm not getting as much, whatever. And yeah, Meta can tell that I'm promoting something, so they want me to pay for it or whatever. So again, I'm an admitted conspiracy theorist in the algorithms, whatever. I think it's super crazy stuff, and I believe it all. So I don't use any schedulers right now. Yeah.
Meta talking to meta. You got to think about that for a second. Like we're just out of the equation at that point. We're just giving them money to and pray that it works. They could just tell us that it works, and it's actually only robots saying that it works. I mean, you don't really know if it works until you get to the club. Then you knew it worked or it didn't.
One of the things that you all have said that I think is actually very powerful is this idea of finding what works for you, right? So I made this mistake for the longest time, which is, hey, you just have to put that post on every platform. You have to stream on every platform. You have to make sure everything is everywhere all the time, and found out that, that's just the wrong approach. You have to find what works for you. So I'd be curious if y'all could share what you're finding are like the platforms that work for you, and then maybe a why. Like, why do you think that's working for you?
I mean, Instagram, right? I think Instagram works because, you get the best of both worlds, kind of. Like, Facebook started out as just like, people, thumb fighting and shit. Like, fuck you, no, fuck you. Smiley face, bad face. Instagram kind of took it to another level. It's like, okay, you're going to put a picture of yourself up with some video content of yourself, doing whatever you're doing, and then you leaving yourself wide open for the whole world to comment on that. I get the biggest results there for sure, from my records being promoted to my parties being promoted. But again, I'm, a little bit older than the younger kids who's probably, doing TikTok, I would imagine, or something like that. But no, Instagram for people in our scene, more party electronic people, I think that works way more for me, personally. I don't know with you guys, for Farris Will, we get most of our pre-sales come through our Instagram account. I would say 85% of our pre-sales come through our Instagram account. We still get a few from Facebook, some people who didn't want to turn over yet, us old people, it's tough for us to change, So, yeah, I still get a few sales and stuff for there, but most of it's either Instagram or direct sales from the actual, site itself.
I think it depends on the type of content sometimes.
Yeah,
so some things are really like Insta-friendly. You're like, okay, this is great. And then I put something there, and then something that's more applicable to Facebook, which is kind of like more like a mall where people are kind of just shopping and commenting on stuff and like hanging out. It's like the neighborhood. Hey, what's up? People sit down on the stoop. You talk for a while, and then they dip out. And then I also try to make those posts platform specific, but I try not to push them to be the same thing. So you're not going to see the same content coming through it. So it's going to be different for a story, different for Insta, different for Facebook. Haven't really gotten into TikTok because that's just one more thing I don't want to deal with. It's just another platform that I feel isn't really useful for me at this moment. Something may change. I may find something different, but again, this is what I found to work for me. So trying to make things really specific, because if there's people who are following you on all these different platforms, try to give them something else to look at, because they're just like, oh, okay, I've seen this flyer. I don't need to see it again here if I'm following you everywhere else. So you're going to see more cats and plants on Instagram, but you might have some more old school flyers or content that people can pull up about an article about equipment or a favorite new program. I like to do that there. So again, it's platform specific. So I try to keep it fresh for me as well.
Haven't looked at my Twitter account in like 4 years.
Fuck Twitter.
There you go.
Yeah, same. 20 years of doing this. The platforms have come and gone. Right now, majority of the Star Creature label operates on Instagram. I think like our core audience and the sort of demographics that we're targeting for that label are all on Instagram. It's a little bit of like a not older, but I would say like 35 and up. You know, it's funk and disco music. It's a little bit more for the mature heads and the folks that have been around that are on Instagram. The other label that I work at, Numero Group, like I think we've been sort of not struggling on Instagram, but it's just kind of like the same thing. It's the same thing. And then, you know, we're a label that is, you know, focused on continuing to, you know, have newer folks enter our world and, you know, tell stories to like young people that are trying to like discover music from the past and things like that. So we kind of have a dual TikTok, Instagram approach, but the content is like almost completely different. You know, TikTok is more of like a Wild West scenario for us. It's more about the vibes. Instagram is more like just straightforward, you know, getting back to like the easier value proposition, the sharing a playlist, sharing a record, sharing, you know, a story, something like that. But yeah, I mean, I think like, you know, back to kind of what Mazi was saying and some other folks here, you don't need to be necessarily on every platform, especially like, you know, if it is going to be time consuming. I think it's important to kind of evaluate which ones are, you know, moving the needle for you. And something that I use all the time, like kind of just as I frame sort of what I'm going to be doing for that day or that week or what I'm going to be investing my time in, is kind of like the old school 80-20 rule. You know, 20% of your time is going to bring 80% of the resources, and 80% of that other time is only going to bring that 20%. So if something falls in like the 80% time waste zone, just dump it. I mean, we've all dumped it with Twitter, probably. You know, not many people post on their like business page on Facebook anymore because, you know, it's a waste. So don't feel free, or don't be afraid to just get off certain platforms if they're not giving you the results.
I mean, I'm the other way around. I'm on all that shit, but I don't check it. You know, it's like, it's literally one button to send all that shit to all of the fucking platforms. I want to be like fucking Target. You can find me any fucking where, every town, every corner. You can see Gene fucking somewhere. You don't have to struggle to find me. That's just business. If you go to Farris, we're everywhere. I mean, I haven't checked it like I said, but again, one post, all the platforms. I don't got time to like send a post for Facebook, and then on this one I'm a little bit different on that. I don't got time for that shit. So one post goes to everybody. You know, all the sites.
But the investment still falls into, you're not investing extra time. You're not.
No,
you know.
Still one post, one button, everybody. Same amount of time it's going to take me to do 10 sites, it's going to take me to do one site. Same.
And how often are you like bringing new platforms into that? Or
new fan base?
No,
probably like, weekly, but a new platform, I don't understand the question.
Like, does that thing push to like TikTok or?
We push on TikTok, we push on Instagram, we push on Facebook. I mean, hell, I would push on fucking Friendster if it was still open, bro. I like money. This is my job. That's what I'm doing here. There's no sugarcoating the shit. Promote to every fucking body.
Yeah. No, I think that also speaks though to what we've been talking about this far, which is like telling your story, doing what's working for you, and just from, and correct me if I'm wrong, Gene, but from what I know of what you're doing right now is you're blowing it up, bro. Like you are playing some huge ass parties. You are all over. So
it's consistency,
exactly,
man. It's not that I'm doing anything any different than any one of you guys. I'm just doing it every fucking day.
Yeah, so that makes sense for that story. And I think to Heather's kind of like story where it's a little bit different, like you are playing, you are out there, but I would say it's a little bit more of like a artisan approach.
Yeah, it's different but the same. It's like we're coming from the same school. We just have different approaches.
Exactly.
Like he's always hustled. There's nothing been different about what he's been doing.
But you're telling the story your way.
Well, me and her have been friends since I was like 16, 17 years old.
But that's the point. There's no wrong way to do any of this. And that's why we're still here doing it, because, again, you figure out what works, what doesn't, your quote-unquote business model. You take advice, or you find people that you just observe and what they're doing. You learn by doing, by osmosis. Also, this is a big, huge artist community, and sometimes they're really incredible and collaborative. Other times it's incredibly difficult and cutthroat and not fun. But at the end of the day, it's just music. So if you're able to do your thing, not hurt anybody, literally, figuratively,
Absolutely.
and go to bed at night and feel okay about what you've done, that's you're winning. And also be able to raise a family,
Absolutely.
pay your rent, doing something you love.
It's two hats you have to wear,
Absolutely.
One is an artist hat.
Yeah.
One is a business hat.
Yes.
I mean, it's a very two crazy balls to juggle,
Right.
And yeah, as an artist, 1,000%, I agree with all of that. As a businessman, I want that shit everywhere. I want it like fucking Nike. I want it every fucking where. I want little Chinese kids. I want big Chinese kids. I want black kids. I want everybody to know about my shit. That's just his business.
So you guys were kind of leading into my questions before. Now you're answering my questions before I even ask them, which is amazing.
Why do we need you?
I know.
Mazi?
Why am I even sitting here? I'll just go sit out there.
Let's just roll by.
Because y'all just started talking about challenges, and I haven't asked about challenges yet. So what challenges are you facing? What challenges are you facing while you're doing what you're doing? So if you don't mind sharing some challenges with us.
Wow. I mean, I've been DJing since a very long time. I'll just say that. Since a very long time. God, I mean, I remember, the game has changed so much, guys, right? Like, just keep it 100. Like, I used to be like 1,000 of straight black DJs, right? Used to be everywhere. Now we're like the minority, right? Let's keep it 100. I'm just, and I don't mind any of it. Like I got friends of all kinds of everywhere, but that's been a challenge, man. To be honest, like everywhere I go, basically being, the one black guy. Am I on the flyer because I'm good? Am I on the flyer because I'm the one black guy? These are questions that you have challenges with.
Well, it used to
right?
be I was on a flyer because I was the only woman for whatever people thought I was. But
Yeah.
us women, we knew there were tons of us out here.
Absolutely.
Still are. But I think the nature of the game now is that I was just having this conversation earlier that everyone's a DJ. So in order to kind of like maintain, or I should say that you're established, you've been here for a minute, but you're maintaining, but also breaking new ground, developing new
Absolutely.
artists, expanding your fan base. And that's, I think, sometimes a challenge for people, that they feel that they're kind of leaning into what they've done in the past as opposed to kind of like continuing their legendary status by continuing to play music that they're making sure that they're contemporary, and making sure that they're not just leaning into what they've done before. Like everyone's got a deep resume.
Stay relevant. Stay current.
And enjoy what you're doing, and not really lament about the old days, because those are gone. And thankfully, we experienced all of these things in different times in Chicago and in the world. But because of that experience, it lends itself to what we can do now. We can pull all of those experiences from, the
Wisdom.
late 80s up until now. So I think that's what makes you so.
I mean, I'm not trying to have a Gene Ferris pity party and shit. I know I'm dope. Fuck
I know.
y'all. I'm just
I know.
saying.
I'm just letting you know.
I'm just saying that this is one of the challenges. This was the question he asked. Like, do I have any challenges? Yes, I do. On a daily basis, I still have a challenge as a
Same.
straight black man playing house music. Even my friends that are straight black men that don't listen to house music look at me like, still, damn, nigga, you still, what's going on? You still playing house music and shit? I mean, I have mad challenges, outside of the fact that, the higher I get up on the totem pole, I see even less of me. That's a whole nother interview. I mean, message me if you like about that. But I mean, I guess what I'm just trying to say is it's a constant challenge. It's the same challenge I've been having since I was 11 years old when I started DJing. First challenge was, being the best, trying to be the best in the neighborhood. Letting my friends know that, even though I love this music and 95% of my friends are gay, I swear I'm not. you know, but it's just one of those things. It's a constant challenge. You know, coming from Chicago, still, you know, if you all know, a lot of people don't even believe that we made this shit anymore. They think it's from London or some shit, or like, you know. So that's a challenge in itself. You know, running a record label, also being, you know, a 6'5" black guy from Chicago, having one of the top 10 labels, that's a fucking challenge, you know, dealing with shit y'all can't even imagine on a daily basis, you know. So I guess the moral of the story, like I said, is I'm not having a pity party. It's like when the challenges come, guys, and they will, fucking just be ready to step up and knock that shit over the park, because there's going to be another challenge after that. Just keep fucking going, man.
Oh yeah, every day.
Yes.
That you know, because you also question, like, why the fuck am I still doing this? What is this giving me? But then it's just like a carrot or a tree branch or something. You go from one thing to another, and it will inspire you and make sure that you keep going. So those little challenges, like, make you realize the reasons why you're doing it. This is why. Whether it be like, you know, no sleep, getting in a flight the next day, doing all this stuff, managing life, label, etc., and then you literally just get to a party and you have a great time and you let all that other stuff go. And that's like, those little reminders are a big part of the reason why I keep going. Sometimes for me, a challenge is also still being considered a female DJ. To me, I appreciate the love on the female DJ thing, but I've never thought of myself as just a female DJ. And I think that comes from, I don't know. It's not something I've ever leaned into, saying, well, I want to be the best female DJ, because there's tons of them. There's more of them than ever before. I think it's really hilarious that now you get to a point where people who are female DJs or identify themselves as being female DJs, is that they feel that they're the first, and they forget that there are so many that have come before them, before me, before a lot of people who are out here. So just being aware of the culture, the art, being respectful, because it is still, for me, it's still a big mode of expression.
Yes.
And about how I communicate my feelings to the world. If we're not having these conversations all the time, I'm not stopping the music and saying, hey, listen, I just want to talk to you about this track right now, or what happened to me today, because no one cares. It's about what you can do for those people in that room for an hour and a half, 2 hours, 3 hours if you have it, because that's how you're talking to them, and they're talking to you by how they're sharing how much they're liking or not liking what you're doing in that moment.
Energy exchanger.
Corny,
Yeah.
but true.
I'm tall, but I'm not 6'5", so my challenges are a little bit smaller, but kind of like same thing, you know. Like I look around and I see kind of like a lot of myself-looking folks DJing and doing things right now, and like I never really wanted to be a DJ per se. I wanted to be like a record or a music pusher. I wanted to work on the label side. I thought record labels were really interesting from like a young age. I started DJing as like kind of a vehicle to continue to push music, but a challenge for me is kind of promoting myself, and I don't really like to do it. I DJ'd for a long time to kind of like get my bases established and get my network going and meet a lot of people, and it's a really cool thing to be involved in. It's awesome. Everybody I know is from the DJ world, like all my friends, everybody, period. But I think it's a challenge for me to promote myself being like a straight white guy, in this environment, which is why I've focused more on the label side, and what I'm good and I'm playing into my strengths and what I can be consistent at is promoting others and promoting the music of others and the art of others. And if I can get into some place that maybe others haven't been able to or don't have the easiest time getting into that, then that's kind of what I want to do, and that's where I think running the label is important to me. It's much easier for me to promote others and promote other things than it is to promote myself, and that's kind of the biggest challenge for me.
All right. Thanks for sharing your challenges. I know that's not easy to do, so appreciate you doing that. And I know it has value for all of us in this room. One more question. I want to end it on a positive note. I know especially for folks like myself who are graybeards, we always want to talk about how it was better when we were younger and so on and so forth. But I want to end it with, what opportunities do you all think exist now, like right now, for new independent artists, new brands that want to grow, like today, right now? Like, what are the new opportunities that exist right now?
Man, I think, it's more opportunities now than you all have ever had, to be honest with you. There's more record labels than there have ever been. There's more clubs than they've ever had. There's more festivals happening now than there's ever been. There's more people for you to be able to touch than you've ever been able to touch before. It's way easier than it's ever been to make music than it ever has been in the history of making music, people. So I think, my God, I mean, you all just told me about AI. Fuck, I think I'm gonna try it now. So, I mean, you got tons of opportunities and tons of people willing to listen, That's the thing. The hardest thing I had, when we started this thing was even finding people who liked it. Now you have millions of people who fucking like it, I mean, we were happy if we had this many people coming to a party back in the day, like this, just in this room. So, I mean, yeah, you have more opportunities than I ever had starting out, and more easier ways to make music and touch people. So I run with it, man.
I was going to say that with all the technology that is at your fingertips, being able to like bust out a track like on your phone or start sequencing like on the bus, if I do take the bus sometimes, and then able to come home and finish it up or just finish it up in your hand, that's great. But with that being said, we do have more clubs, but we have more festivals, but we have more DJs. And with that, there are less spaces for said DJ. So everyone really wants to get on. So it's straight up Hunger Games right now. So it's like trying to find the spots and to be able to accommodate, facilitate those bookings, to reach out to say, you know what, I've been fortunate to been able to be put on so many times, and it's what's really difficult right now is being able to return the favor in kind because the budgets aren't there. It's like, well, I would love to have this person play, but I'm not going to insult them by telling them what fee they're going to get. So I've always tried to supplement or trying to find a spot when I'm telling someone like, I'm going to get you in. It's really genuine because I'm doing my best, the only thing I can do. So I think that with all of the stuff that you can do right now, that's the only issue I'm having is just being able to accommodate everybody, making sure everyone is been able to just like have a chance at this point, and that's the difficulty. And the number of clubs, I think it ebbs and flows because sometimes people feel like there's perhaps monopolies going on or gatekeeping or whatever, but everyone wants to maintain, but also it's that double-edged sword of like holding on, but also trying to facilitate someone else's opportunity too. Because if you're at this spot, you should be able to do that.
Yeah, I think, I'm not sure. I think probably most people here are from Chicago or at least live here now. So that's an opportunity that, you're in a place where there's a lot of things happening and there's a lot of, availability to make things happen. That there's young people and people that want to get involved in this that kind of like live in rural areas in the middle of nowhere and they don't have that. But I would say use that opportunity and this is like another thing we talked a lot about platforms and spending time online and scrolling or whatever. A lot of people aren't really leaving their house. They're not going out. They're not doing the same things that like maybe a lot of us did in their youth. And I think that opens up an opportunity to just get out, like leave your house, go to the party, leave your little friend circle.
About that outside.
Yeah, like experience something new. And I think it's actually easier now than ever before to like go to a club, meet a promoter, meet another DJ, and establish like a real world connection where so much of our interactions are just like, click and like or commenting one word or whatever. So yes, there's all this technology. Yes, there's all this whatever happening, but you're in Chicago and there's a ton of other people that you don't know yet, and you gotta leave the house.
I think we just went full circle on that one. We started with Gene talking about leaving the house and starting all small, and then we just ended right back in Chicago. I love that. All right, we just got a few minutes left. I'm out of questions, but does anybody out there have a question? Yes.
So, as of late, a lot of the DJs, they want to get their face out there. People like, say, Eugene, when I first heard your mixtapes, I didn't know what you looked like. I was just listening to your mixtapes. Yeah. My question is, do you think it's ever going to get back to track selection?
I mean, you've opened Pandora's box, right? Like, all of us want to know what Daft Punk looks like, right? Everybody wants to know what Kraftwerk looks like now. I mean, I agree. Do not make me put Ben Gay on my knees up here right in front of you. I agree. But the thing is, time goes on, man. My son, okay, I have a 6-year-old boy. You all know I love my kid. He'll be 7. Point is when he was 4, he went up to the television and tried to swipe the TV, bro. So what I'm telling you is he doesn't even know what a mixtape is what I'm telling you, bro. So you just have to understand we have to move with technology if we're about this artist life. You're about this consumer life, you can listen to it however you want.
I think,
You know. Yeah.
well, I think you're also talking about the mystery of these artists. So you wouldn't see Gene's face, or you wouldn't see Moody Man's face, or all these amazing records, and you'd see them, and you'd have this sense of wonder and imagination, like, who is this person going to be? So you finally go see them at their party, whatever, and like, that's what that dude looks like. God damn, that's Gene Farris.
But it was track selection. It seems like nowadays more is about like what the person looks like.
But there's a combination, though. You can thread the needle of like having the gene, but then also have the track selection. I mean, I think that, yeah. Well, I mean,
The uglier you are, the better your music has to be.
I guess so. I mean, yeah, or the adage of a face for radio, that's part of it too, where, so big, again, it's the era that we're living in. It's not just about the music, dare I say. It is about all the other components that we've talked about.
True.
I almost feel sorry because nowadays people are looking for that, looking for those likes, looking for that. Whereas back in the day, I was listening to the DJ techniques, how they blended tracks together, how they remix tracks on the fly. Right.
It was more about skills for sure, as it should be. As it should be.
Yeah, and it's still about skill, and you can tell the difference if someone's using Ableton when they're mixing, or a sync button. You can tell, you can feel it. Chicago motherfuckers play different than New York motherfuckers, Detroit, whatever. But again, that signature sound, you're always going to understand it and feel it when someone's literally making those two pieces of music their very own in that moment. And that's the nature of DJing, blending these two records, you're blending, but blending them and making them specifically your own. And that's where the skill set comes in, and programming and practice and literally listening to music, not worrying about the first 4 bars, like, okay, great, that sounds dope. But literally putting on a piece of music and learning about it. But practice, consistency, that's all about the art. I know you're going to say something right now, though.
So, does anybody out there think that it's going to get back to that ever?
It's not, because it's just different. You're going to still find those DJs that you have those expectations of. They're out there. We're talking to you right now. And you know that because you're a fan of that style. That will never, ever leave. But I think, to your point, you're wondering, like, you're hoping that people would really understand what quote unquote real DJing is, as opposed to the button pushing and the likes and the videoing of all the friends in the booth when no one's at the club while the bartender's setting up. You know what I'm saying? So I get that. But there's an audience for that. That will never, ever end. Authenticity will never die.
No.
We got a question here, but I just wanted to add one thing to that, which is one of the things these folks have been saying is like telling your authentic story. And I can think of bands and DJs like right now, young people who I have no idea what they look like, and I love their music because that's how they present themselves on social. Like they show you their artwork or their album. they do like these crazy abstract shots. Like their stories are about these weird things and dolls and whatever. Because of that, they're trying to capture that in a modern digital age. So you can still do that. Like if that's the story you want to tell, you can do it. But are we going to that completely? I don't think so. But there are artists who are doing that, I think. So, question here.
Thank you, all, everybody on the panel, Mazi, for coming today. Appreciate it. So this is about marketing, at least this panel we started. I have a question as someone who works in marketing frequently and having to measure the effectiveness of my efforts and the time that I put into it, especially with the 80-20 rule. How do you go about, like, outside of just straight up in my selling stuff, to measuring the effectiveness of, say, a post or a campaign or something that you're working on, be like, you know what, that approach to this type of content worked really well, or this worked really well, or this really supported my efforts overall. Like, how do you go about measuring your effectiveness and the time that you put into addressing marketing communication with the public?
I mean, you can kind of. There's a ghetto way to measure it, which is how many likes did you have on this style of post. Okay, so if I give you a post where I'm DJing, how many, at a certain festival, did I get more traction from this post versus just a standard post of me playing at a smaller club, that the festival may not be as popular. That's the ghetto way to track it. The official way to track it is, as you know, you actually have a gauge of, they can see your traction, your algorithms in Instagram and Facebook and telling you exactly who's looking at your post, how many people are looking at it, what content is getting the most engagement. That's why you see a lot of people, myself, we merge posts, right? Like you'll see a post with, content that we know gets a lot of tread on it, merged with the flyer, right? And you see like 4 or 5 pictures and you're like, oh, this post got, 1,500 likes. The party is going to be good. It's kind of like fooling the mind. They're really liking the post from the festival. The flyer from the party just happens to be in there. They like create, a content look. A lot of people do that all the time. So I hope I answered what you're trying to say kind of correctly.
Yeah, I don't have too much to add to that. It is kind of like vibes, especially when you are managing your account or manage an account for like a long period of time. Over time, you see like what used to work doesn't work anymore. Like you can't really just post a flyer anymore and expect it to get a lot of engagement. So we kind of use the likes and that kind of stuff to tell us that we're shifting, but yeah, nothing really too sophisticated beyond that.
All right, I did see a couple more hands. We got 5 more minutes, so a couple more questions. We have a question back there. Oh, question right there.
Yes.
I'm just wondering, is there any access to spaces that are not, say, like high ticket prices, where events could be had like they were once, or is that pretty much gone in this day and age?
I think people are still doing free parties, $7. Sometimes it's really about supporting the space. So you're trying to pay for a DJ. Sometimes the DJs are gonna donate their time. So you're really paying for overhead. So at the end of the day, sometimes literally the $5 goes a long way. So those spaces are available. Free parties are available. You just got to look out for them. Some ticket prices are bigger because the overhead is bigger, insurance, number of artists, et cetera, artist fees, et cetera. So I think we're getting to a point where I don't know if the bubble is bursting for festivals necessarily, but it's really making people really kind of glean or look out for smaller events because they really want that as well, because festivals aren't going to be sustainable for so long because people literally can't afford it.
Well, you got Westfest, right?
Yeah, that's
and you
$5.
got Taste of Randolph. That's another cheap. You got a few.
And free, free events by the lake, like park jams.
Yeah.
Like people are doing it all over the city.
You got a lot of free events in Chicago. You got
daytime jams everywhere.
Yeah.
Yes, doll.
to the time that you like to DJ, do you guys prefer those times or these times? Regardless, keep in mind, obviously, another next question to the times out to that as well is monetized. You know, everything's commercialized, so everything's monetized, they make more money now. Do you think the passion for music has changed when that money aspect has come in, everything's become more commercialized, more competition, just, you know, like the new people that come in?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's. But you know what? There's people who've. I don't know about smarter. It's just about like changing your approach as you kind of grow into what you do, your brand, whatever, all those catchphrases. I really don't like using all that stuff, even though it is marketing and all. But I think there is space for all of it. So there's people who've like just been DJing a few years or popping out of COVID. There's a lot of COVID DJs, right? People got equipment, computers, etc., and they basically discovered something that they enjoyed, and all of a sudden it's a time and space kind of thing. So they're able to kind of like find a moment which works for them. And instead of the DJs who've been playing for 20, 30 years, who are still known or considered like underground or what have you, and have put in that work, but they haven't been elevated as much as those artists. Yeah, I mean, there's space for all of it and everything, but yeah, and you recognize it, but once again, there's like, I don't know, the nature of dance music has always been really fast, really fleeting. So it's like, if you can kind of come into it and establish yourself, that's, you've like done the work of like so many people right there in that moment. And that takes a long time for some. Others, it comes really quickly. I was just having a conversation earlier today about how the first time I played at Coachella, it took me 10 years to even get the phone call. You know, I had been playing for a long time, 10, 15 years, and I felt like, okay, I guess, quote unquote, I've made it. But there's also those carrots that continue to happen where you think, I've kind of fallen off, and it's self-doubt. There's all these things that go into your headspace of being an artist and how you want to be perceived about your personal value. There's like, it's such a headspace. So in that regard, you just try to do things that feel, again, honest to you, and kind of like, just realize those opportunities that you have, take advantage of them, because those windows open and close all the time. So don't lose hope, keep it moving. Things don't go your way one day, it will come around for you the next, because that's the nature of it all.
I mean, we come from an era, like he said, we come from an era that it used to be 90% of your skill set is what made you what it was about. It's not like that anymore, okay? It's about 30% of your skill set, 70% of how your markability is, your look, all kinds of goofy shit. You know, it basically doesn't have that much to do with your skill set anymore. So you just have to make sure that you don't get caught up into that. Realize that, like I said, you have 8 hours a day to do your job. Okay, make sure that 4 hours of that is the fun part of your job that you love. And the other 4 part is like everybody else is doing in the world. You're doing shit to get paid for that you don't like to do. You just have to do it. It's part of work.
I think about social media and smartphones a lot being a tool to break through the noise. There's so much noise right now, right? Which is why the skill set sometimes isn't the first thing that people look for. So it's hard to communicate that through all the people making noise and marketing and stuff. I heard you both speak about teams in a different way, being you leaning into having one and having pulling back from having one. I don't know if you work with other people in the marketplace, but how critical or not has having other people working on the marketing with you been to your success?
I think for me, you know, I mean, like I started out like each one of you guys, I did everything on my own. I'm just a weird fucking Gemini, so I'm very meticulous with shit, and I work 8. When I say I'm working 6, 7, 8 hours a day, I'm working 6, 7, 8 hours a day. You know, yeah, there's a joint in my mouth the whole time, but I'm working. It's that, and you know, now that I've worked hard enough to get where I am, I still work the same amount of hours a day. I just have a few other people who can do things that I'm not able to do, or they can reach places that I can't reach to, or they have access to places that I just, they're just like me with their job, with promotions and things. They have access to places that I don't have access to. So, yeah, I think at my point where I'm trying to go, because I'm not finished, I'm not by any means content, I'm not any means slowing down, I'm still going hard at the end of the day. I think where I'm trying to get to, yeah, a team is kind of critical for where I'm at, because it's just only so much that one human can do, and only one human knows how to do, should I say. I have specialists in one of my teams, people who are specialized in that field, and that's what they do. They're masters in their craft. The same way I am with my DJing and my music making, I try to think I'm mastering my craft. These are people who are mastering their crafts and promotions. They're mastering their crafts and marketing tool, sections. And so, yeah, I think, yeah, it comes to a point where you have to have them if you want to get to a next level in the video game, so to speak.
It can also be a time and place situation where you bring on someone to help out, facilitate promotion for a specific project, and then, you kind of like have them in that capacity, and then you can move on too. But again, we have totally different styles, but
yeah,
it works for me and works for you, but just different.
I mean, I hire, for the album that I got coming out, we hire different promotion teams for different things, according to what we need them to promote at that time. Like, we have a promotion team that specifically, promotes house music. We have another promotion team that specifically promotes tech house music. We have another team that does techno, if I wanted to do that, but we don't, I don't do techno. But I guess what I'm trying to say is, yes, you can hire these people out for a specific task, absolutely. Or you can put them on, to help you constantly. It really depends on what you can afford, or you cannot use them at all. Just make sure that you use the most hours in your day on your job. I mean, think about if you worked anywhere, you work at least 7-8 hours a day. Why not put that into yourself and promote and do something you want to fucking do?
Yeah, that's what I learned to that point. It's like all it took me was the time where I was working for a record label and I got laid off, and I felt I was made to feel that I was part of a family. And what I also realized is that in that moment when I couldn't find work, I realized I didn't want to work for anyone else. I wanted to build equity into myself. So every hour that I spend on anything, whether it's 2 a.m. or 7 a.m., it's money, time, for me. It's not going to the proverbial man.
Believe in yourselves, guys. Believe in your fucking selves. If COVID didn't get rid of you guys, ain't shit getting rid of you guys. So you're here. Keep it fucking going. I stayed in all you motherfuckers' living rooms during COVID. All right, and that was 8 hours of fucking work a day, making sure that I had something to sell you all different every fucking week. You all can do the same shit for yourselves. Believe in yourselves. Invest in yourselves, guys. Invest in you. I mean, you want like you want every one of us to believe in you. I ain't gonna believe in you if you don't believe in you. So kick it off. Invest in yourselves. Seriously.
All right, y'all. I think that's a good message. With that, let's give it up for Gene Farris, DJ Heather Robinson, and Tim Zawada.